Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. It's here, it's finally here! Okay, that is me doing my best attempt to rebrand Mercury retrograde, because drumroll please, this Monday, November 25th at 9:42 p.m. Eastern, Mercury is turning retrograde for 3 weeks in Sagittarius. And you bet your sleigh bells that that's going to mess with our holidays in all sorts of ways. But today, what we're going to do is try to find the positive, proactive spin on it without blowing smoke up your chimney or Santa suit or wherever. Talia Edut here, one half of the AstroTwins, with your weekly horoscope forecast for the week of November 20th to December 15th. Let's go. Well, it all begins on Monday with our dear friend Mercury, who is having the inevitable retrograde. We get them 3 to 4 times a year. There's nothing we can do about it because Mercury moves around the sun a lot faster than the Earth. It takes 88 days to go around. We take 365. So it's going to pass us a few times in its orbit. And when it does, it's almost like that optical illusion. If you've ever been on a train and you looked and you saw another train passing by at a different speed, and all of a sudden it was like weird, trippy, that looked like it went backwards. Well, that's kind of what Mercury retrograde does from our vantage point here on Earth. And it moves backwards through the zodiac, which it's going to be doing. And it's going to be backing up through the sign of Sagittarius, which is its own triple whammy. So it's going backwards from 22 degrees, 40 minutes Sagittarius. And then it'll turn direct at 6 degrees and 28 minutes of Sagittarius. All the astro geeks out there who like to track the degrees, if you have any planets in your chart between those degrees of Sagittarius, well, you will definitely be having that planet or point in your chart activated. And there's going to be a little bit of extra signal jamming in whatever area of life that planet rules. So back to the broader strokes interpretation, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, like I said, is a bit of a triple whammy because Sagittarius sort of is like a walking Mercury retrograde sometimes. And I say that lovingly as a Sagittarius sun sign myself. But when Mercury goes retrograde, all the things that the planet rules go in reverse or get a little wonky or chaotic, and that's communication, scheduling, our social interactions, our peer interactions. Well, Sagittarius is known for being this outspoken philosophical sign that also often will put its foot in its mouth, be chronically late because it's trying to do 10,000 things in 10 minutes. And all those things that kind of happen during Mercury retrogrades are the life of a Sagittarius sometimes. Now, Mercury is the ruler of Sagittarius's opposite sign, Gemini, as well as Virgo. So it's already an awkward fit. Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius, meaning it doesn't love being there. Perfunctory, systematic energy of Mercury does not flow well with the liberated, I'll do it my way, renegade Sagittarius. Bear that in mind when you try to buck the system over the next few weeks. Without fail, I seem to always wind up traveling during Mercury retrograde, even if it isn't a holiday. I think I traveled during every single Mercury retrograde this year. I'm taking a quick little trip to Detroit for Thanksgiving. And of course, leaving tomorrow. If you are traveling for Thanksgiving or any other purpose, really do recommend leaving early for the airport, maybe pre-booking an Uber or making sure you're confirming with the person who said they'd give you a ride. If maybe booking a parking lot space before you drive to the airport, if you're taking yourself there, just make sure you reserve that and double check. Or also with your hotel reservations, if you are trying to be a budget traveler, but you're sleeping on the couch of one of the most irritating, inflammatory relatives you know, well, you may want to consider the price of your peace of mind and maybe get yourself a motel room or something. I don't know, an Airbnb, whatever's in your budget, or plan on being out a lot or bringing your noise canceling headphones to screen out the cacophony behind you. It's also going to be really hard for people to not be opinionated. So Sagittarius is one of the most, outspoken, also opinionated, politically focused. All the taboo topics of politics and religion or off-color jokes are things that Sagittarius energy loves to talk about. So not discussing things like, say, the election. That's going to be challenging. Bear that in mind when you are figuring out whether or not to go to X person's house or how long you're going to stay in one place. The amount of self-control that Mercury retrograde demands of us, communication-wise, is already a heavy load to bear. But have it in Sagittarius, this zealous, principled sign, like, we're all going to want to speak our truth, but that could go sideways really fast. Consider yourself warned. Now, Mercury is the messenger planet. It also rules the mail. So shipping things long distance, make sure you get the tracking number, pay for the insurance, and don't wait till the last minute to get gifts. You may find that things don't quite arrive in time to land under the tree or around the menorah or wherever you celebrate your Festivus table. You may have to give people a card and a little present is in the mail. I guess this is a moment where we should talk about adjusting expectations because nobody likes to be disappointed. And look, we're all in practice. We've lived through the pandemic, the supply chain meltdowns. We know how to wait for a holiday gift at this point. If you're trying to have that picture perfect trad wife or trad dad kind of holiday celebration, well, you may just want to lighten up a little. This is not a moment for rigidity. This is just not a year for that, even though we'll be free from Mercury retrograde by December 15th. The shadow will linger on past the holidays. And next week, we'll be talking about Mars, which is turning retrograde in celebratory Leo for the rest of December. This is going to be a bit of a challenging month, but also a month where not ignoring the discerning voice in your head that says, maybe I shouldn't go celebrate with that side of the family in such a raw moment in my life. Or it may also say, well, maybe I can figure out a different way to do the celebration so that I can take care of my emotional and mental health or protect my kids from hearing things I don't really agree with that are going to feel small-minded or upsetting to me as a parent. There's all sorts of considerations that you should not brush off. Now, they may flare up already on Wednesday while we're all preparing for Thanksgiving, those of us who are going to be dining or having some kind of gathering. The sun is going to be trine Mars, the Sagittarius sun, which is very fun-loving, adventurous, flamboyant. It's going to be forming this really nice, harmonious angle to Mars, festive Mars in Leo, and Mars is still direct this week. So there is really an opportunity to bring some creativity, pleasure, some passions, joy into the middle of the week. But both the sun and Mars can be attention whoring, flamboyant. So make sure you're not dominating the conversation or being like a kitchen drill sergeant or overly controlling in a way of like, I want this bell and whistle and the orange peel grated just like this and zested for the cranberry sauce. Like, there's a chance that we could all get a little carried away and performative under the Sun Mars trine. And that's fine if you're firing up the karaoke machine or doing a living room dance party. Maybe bring some fun to it. Do a pie competition, do a bake off. I don't know. I think healthy, fun competition is great for a Sun Mars trine. That can actually make the celebration more fun as long as people can keep their sense of humor about them. In fact, with that Sun Mars trine in fire signs, the kitchen might actually be just the right temperature to take the heat off conversations about triggering topics that are going to be on a lot of people's plates and hearts this week. Now, the week ends with even more Sagittarius energy. December 1st, we have the year's only new moon in Sagittarius, and that could mitigate some of the Mercury retrograde energy. That is a really fun and active day for having some of those blue sky conversations. If there is something that needs to be brought up, that may be philosophical differences or political differences or coming to some kind of agreement around what you will and won't talk about at the next, there's really room for honesty and an honest conversation. Now, that does come with some yellow flags because the new moon is forming what's called a T-square. It's this three-way tug of war with Jupiter and Saturn. So it's going to be opposite Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So that is a signal to make sure to get curious, ask questions, don't make assumptions about anything, and don't try to come up with like a plan where you figure out how you'll be for the next 10 years and never say this again and never mess up again, because we're all human, we're going to mess up. And then there's also the square comes in with Saturn in Pisces, forming a right angle to both Jupiter and Gemini and the Sagittarius new moon. Saturn in Pisces is this heavier energy and this call to really take compassion seriously. Can we get into another person's shoes? Or does that mean we're making some kind of sacrifice to our ethics and ideals? And are we then going to kind of be betraying ourselves? So be careful of like a tendency to maybe be a little too optimistic or too giving to the point of later on getting a snapback of resentment. This T-square, this three-way tug of war, it would make a perfect square if we had the missing point, which is the other mutable sign. It's a mutable T-square. And that missing point is Virgo, where Virgo energy could come in as sort of the healing balm is being helpful, being of service, and also being very precise and simple. Like, okay, here is the plan. Okay, we have made this agreement. I will put it in writing and send it in an email so we all just know what we are aligned around. And really just taking it back to the basics. Going to be a tendency to maybe over complexify things. Sagittarius new moons want more and more and more and more and more. This is a lot to take in. Even so, on a global stage, Sagittarius does rule. Now, on a global stage, I'm not going to lie, there are reasons to be concerned because Mercury going retrograde in Sagittarius, which is cross-cultural relations, global relations, like the communication couldn't be worse in many ways. What is going to happen? Like, will Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius lead to more civilian deaths and horrific destruction? Or will this be the moment where we actually get a chance to hit pause and go, we're going to stop this? Because that could be one of the positive outcomes of Mercury retrograde. I'm going to continue to be a Pollyanna for that. Since I did say we're going to rebrand Mercury retrograde and put a little positive, proactive spin on it, here's what it is good for. It actually gives us 3 weeks to do all the reactivities, reflect, reunite, reconnect, reposition ourselves, realign. So for people who are feeling alone and like maybe they unfriended some people after the election, or maybe they unsubscribe from certain news feeds. There's a way to connect with the world right now or reconnect with like-minded people. Mercury does rule our local activities. So, who are people who share your global or political or philosophical outlook close to home? This is a moment to find them. It could also be a chance to put together a travel plan. Like, you're not technically encouraged to travel during Mercury retrograde, but come on, flights aren't going to stop, although they have before during retrograde. Some of the snafus of the last couple holidays have been aligned with retrogrades. But just figuring out nostalgic places, going back in time or seeing old friends is really especially touching and heartwarming during Mercury retrograde. So don't hesitate to cook up a plan with a dear old friend or relative who you've always had smooth sailing with. And maybe you do your own Friendsgiving type thing or pre-holiday hangout to get that hit of sanity that you need before you go into the lion's den. Look, some of us won't have that problem with family and it'll be great, but some of us will. And, it's like the more you can buffer yourself with support from people who understand what you're going through, who can validate your very real feelings, the better, because then at least you'll have a full cup when you head into things. And of course, getting through those end of year tasks, streamline your goals, because Mercury in retrograde already in Sagittarius is going to give you that too much syndrome. So there may be the realization that you've bitten off more than you can reasonably chew. And do you really have to do all those things before January 1st? This is a chance to go back and do some recon work or renegotiating your timelines and deadlines. We're so addicted to achievement sometimes, but guess what? Pluto isn't in Capricorn anymore. Let's take a minute to celebrate that too. Pluto's now in Aquarius. Personally, I'm really liking it. And I've been hearing from a lot of people that they feel oddly free and calm since Pluto has gone into Aquarius. Pluto in Capricorn is high achievement energy. And now Pluto in Aquarius is high connectivity, high community, high rational thinking, and high innovation. And we're in this for 19 years. I don't know, it's far more chill, even though the world is just as chaotic as it was a week ago. You may find yourself leaning into a weird sense of acceptance. But here's where we have to be careful too, because sometimes Pluto in Aquarius can be like, want to be unbothered, but that's not really a wise option. Like, of course, do what you need to do to soothe, to have a good holiday season. But detachment and the loss of hope can be the shadow side of Pluto and Aquarius. Whereas the more effective use of it, I'd say, is objectivity and planning from your rational brain instead of your fight or flight amygdala. And that's where we will hopefully be able to lean into access. But it's hard after you see some of these cabinet nominations like Matt Gaetz, who has stepped down, but then there's others who are known sexual predators. Linda McMahon running the Department of Education. All due respect to the World Wrestling Federation, but what does that have to do with education? Absolutely nothing. So we're seeing all kinds of stranger than sci-fi Pluto and Aquarius stuff going on, and having to keep our chill without detaching to the point of surrender. And that's going to be one of the biggest challenges, especially as we move into 2025. But now is a time to get ducks in a row, get plans handled, and be self-protective in terms of how you make your holiday plans and how you spend the season, because with Mercury retrograde from November 25th to December 15th, and then Mars retrograde December 6th, in Leo till January 6th, and then in Cancer from January 6th to February 3rd, we do not want to fuck around and find out this holiday season. We want to just take those precautions to not even have to find out at all if something is just like, nah, too much drama, too much. It's interesting. We'll be talking about this a lot more, and those of you who already have purchased your 2025 horoscope books will soon be reading because they're on their way. Digital copy is already going to drop this week for everybody who ordered that or who ordered the bundle, and then paperbacks are going to start shipping November 30th. But Mars will be retrograde in Cancer, the sign of women, for the first month and a half of the year, and then basically in Cancer direct until April 18th. So Mars, the warrior planet, is in the sign of feminine power and women for the first quarter of 2025. And I take heart in that, given that, women's reproductive rights and health care is on the line and endangered, and we don't know what's going to happen. Having that fighting spirit there, personally, I find heartening for the year of the divine pendulum. And check your inboxes. Make sure you're following us. Get on our mailing list, which you can do right from l.com from our website, because we're going to be sending out all kinds of amazing Black Friday bundles this week. Yes, it's Black Friday week. So you can already bundle up and save. We have some great gifting deals already. The planner this year, or the book, our 2025 horoscope book, comes in two formats. One is a big old 624-page, beautiful book with illustration by the amazing Bodil Jane. And that has all 12 signs forecasts in it. So for every sign, it's a comprehensive forecast with the highlights of the year, your top 5 themes in depth, a love forecast, a comprehensive career forecast, and then month by month overview. So that's for all 12 signs. You can read for yourself, for your family, for your partner. And then at the back of the book, the second half of the book goes month by month with every single hot spot date, new moon, a full moon, a retrograde, a trine, basically a daily forecast, because most days there is something going on. So you can flip through and go, oh, what's happening today? Oh, Venus turned retrograde. Well, okay. Or you can, better yet, look ahead. Now, if you're the type who likes to have a calendar with your horoscope, I recommend getting one of our zodiac planners. You can read for your sun sign or for your rising sign. People ask which one. My recommendation is your sun sign, because that's how we write these horoscopes. The sun really is the center of your chart, the essence of who you are. And if you're going to read a whole sign forecast, I say do your sun sign. But some people prefer the rising sign. That's fine too. Get whichever one you resonate with. Again, if you don't know which, start with your sun sign. You can bundle it up and get the big book too. So we have all kinds of savings there. You can get the big book plus one zodiac planner, or 3 of the zodiac planners, 3 signs. So get one for your sun sign, one for your rising sign, and one to give to your bestie, whatever. This is our 14th year writing the book, and we put so much love into it. And it's really something that people keep with them all year. You'll get our bonuses too. We have our webinar, our free 2025 webinar. You get a ticket to that, and Calendar Plus. So you can actually, all the hotspot dates will sync with your calendar. So you'll get a little pop-up message the day of a new moon. And it's like, okay, got to go do the ritual. I've got this dialed in. Thanks to everyone who's already purchased the book. Wishing everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, no matter where you are, whether or not you celebrate. Please know that we are so grateful to you. Thank you for being with us throughout the year and for basically making our dream jobs possible. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. If you love the podcast, go on to Apple iTunes or wherever you listen and follow it. And if you'd be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, well, that just makes the podcast more accessible and visible and available for other people to see and learn about and join our cosmic universe. All right, go ahead and back up your data, strengthen your passwords, but also remember that retrogrades happen. They aren't the end of the world. They're unavoidable. And if you slow down, embrace nostalgia, and allow yourself to ride the waves instead of pushing forward, hit pause on things that aren't flowing where you have the opportunity to, or maybe go research one of Mercury retrograde's favorite words, other options, because there are more things out there. Sometimes you can reveal things that weren't visible, but really should be on your radar. So wishing you smooth sailing with that and a happy Thanksgiving week. We'll be back again next week with more AstroTwins fun. As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.